Okay, we're going to look at how to get your business featured in magazines, newspapers, and e-zines. So what we're really looking for here is to get your business, your website, and you as an authority or somebody in your company featured prominently. There are two reasons for this. First of all, the credibility that it gives you, but then the second benefit is obviously that's a link coming into your website. And anytime you get a link coming into your website, that increases the authority of your website, which helps your ranking. So we mainly come at this because of the ranking improvements that it gets, but obviously there is a secondary benefit which is being seen in some can be some very high level publications. So there's a few different flavors of this digital PR strategy that we're going to be looking at. The first is news and magazine sites. Now, news and magazine sites have two things that we need, right? The first is high domain authority. So news and magazine sites tend to have high domain authority because they have a huge amount of content which attracts links. So if we think of somebody like The Times or The Guardian, these websites are some of the highest authority websites on the internet because when The Times publishes an article, lots of people link to it. When The Guardian publishes an article, lots of people link to it. And because of all of those links coming into those sites, that gives them high authority. So if we can get a link from these high authority sites, that's going to help our ranking. The second thing that some news and magazine sites have is a targeted niche audience. For example, obviously The Times and The Guardian have quite a general audience, although they do have kind of sub-publications within them. So, for example, The Guardian has a small business section, which is read by small business owners. So that can be a relevant, targeted niche audience. But if we think about magazine sites, for example, and there'll be magazine sites in your market, whether those are trade publications or whether they're B2C publications, what magazine basically is a magazine is a collection of readers on a particular topic. So I used to be a drummer. The drum magazines, what are they? Well, basically a drum magazine is just a way of collecting drummers' attention in one area so that advertisers can sell to those drummers, right? That's what the magazine is for. It's just there to collect a particular audience so we can sell them adverts. Well, it's exactly the same with magazine websites online. So your target audience, your customers, have magazines that have collected them, right? And advertisers are selling to them. Well, if you can get featured in these magazines, that's obviously a really relevant authority, a really relevant audience. So magazines can be a great source, news and magazine sites can be a great source of links and credibility. Let's look at some examples. In fact, actually, no, let's not look at some examples. I want you to imagine that you are the owner of the Manufacturer magazine, right? So this is a trade publication online, very high authority in its market. Now, every Monday morning, you log into your computer and you have to fill this website with as much brand new and interesting content as you possibly can. You have to do this every week. This is your entire life, is filling this website with as much interesting information as you possibly can. Right? That's really, really tough. You can see their top headline news piece there. Record investment sees shower tray manufacturer shine. Okay, there's not a lot of stuff going on in the manufacturer world. And then combine that, we've got sales of print magazines are down, ad revenue is down, you got to pay for all of the people who are writing for this publication every single week. Every single week these guys need paying. So your job as owner of the Manufacturer magazine is actually pretty tough and it's pretty stressful. So now imagine that somebody offers, they email you an offer to write you a killer article for your website free of charge that's in the style of the publications that you publish. It's really relevant. You know that it's going to be of interest to your audience because they've told you the topic. They'll offer to source the images, proofread it, and they even suggest a great headline that you can use. That person all of a sudden is your savior because they help you with a few things. One, great content, awesome. The second thing, it's free, right? Rather than having to pay a journalist to do it, we're giving it to them free. Happy days. They like us for this. So by taking this approach, this is how we get traction with these publications. We are the people who offer to write the articles for these publications. So there are basically two ways of getting in these sorts of publications. The first is to get featured, right? So have an article which features you and talks about you and promotes your business, right? This tends to come from an inbound journalist inquiry. Okay, we're going to look at them in a second. The second way to get in is to be the author, right? To be the writer of the piece that's going in the publication. And this tends to come from outreach, which is basically pitching your articles to people. Okay, so let's look at some examples. Here is At Home magazine, and these guys have a lot of content that they need to put on their site. You can see down on the right hand side we've got celebrity editors, so this is a credible publication. They're trying to fill the site with content. This piece here is Natural Ways to Keep Your Skin Glowing, and it's written by one of our clients, Claire. Claire Wares is a health and beauty expert who runs Elite School of Beauty Therapy in Bishop Stortford. So this is a link back to Claire's website, which increases the authority of Claire's website, which is good stuff. That's exactly what she wants to do. Here's another example, All Women's Talk. And you can see there the author is Claire Wares, and she's written an article on skin therapy, how to produce your own edible face products. Now remember, her business is a beauty therapist training center, right? So she's not selling skin therapy. She's not talking, she's not selling edible face products or anything like that. So by pitching these guys on topics which are genuinely interesting and relevant to the readers of the publication, we're getting featured at no cost. Here's another example on Girl Zone, talking about different hairstyles. And again, there's a link back to Claire's website there. She is the author of this piece. Or rather, we are the author of this piece in Claire's name. Here's more examples. So this is for an outdoor playground company. Okay, so their target audience is owners or teachers of schools, particularly primary schools. So these guys read publications like Innovate My School. That's a popular publication for this type of business because the teachers are all reading Innovate My School, and the ones that are reading tend to be the ones who are most innovative, right? No surprises. So here's an article on teaching literacy outdoors. And guess what? The article's written by a guy called Sam Flatman, who is sales and marketing director at Penskin Sport. Well, actually, I don't think it was written by him. It was written by us. But the point is, get a link back to the website, get featured in the publication. That gives you credibility, and it gives you that all-important authoritative link. Now, some of these examples are, all of these examples are great for the visibility that it gives, but that visibility can also lead to further opportunities. For example, we got one of our clients featured for this article about National Heart Month, right? So they got featured in The Mirror. And what we're doing, Sarah Cooper White, who wrote this piece, is a freelance journalist. And she was looking for contribution. She was looking for input from health experts. And one of our clients is a personal trainer, right? So they were selling personal training help for people, for personal trainers who wanted to get qualified and wanted to grow their businesses. Well, these guys offer help for them. So what we did is we pitched Peter, who's the owner of the business, as an expert on heart health, obviously because he's a personal trainer and trains trainers, and Sarah Cooper White featured him in this publication about National Heart Month with some tips to keep your heart healthy. And that led to a link back to the website. But it also led to some better opportunities, even better opportunities. Now, one of the researchers for the Victoria Derbyshire show was looking for experts to feature on a piece about waist training, which is these corsets which squeeze in your middle and poke out your bum. Right, because everyone wants to look like Kim Kardashian, obviously. And the researchers were doing some research online, and they found a piece around these waist trainers that we had written and promoted in Peter's name. And they got in contact and said, hey, we're looking for some health experts to come on the show on Victoria, Derbyshire, live on BBC Two and talk about this stuff. Is Peter available? We said, no, he's a bit busy, to be honest, sorry. Only joking. Of course he is. So they sent out picked him up and drove him up to the television centre and, do all the makeup and all of that and feature him live on the show and all of that. So really nice day out. But also that means that now forever he can say, I've been featured on Victoria, Derbyshire show on BBC. So massive credibility. If somebody's comparing different options, well, here's the trainer who's been on BBC and here's the one who's just in the gym, whatever, doing nothing. So massive credibility boost from this as well. Here are some more examples. So this is for an accountancy company. So accountants are typically quite dry, not particularly engaging. Here's a piece that we wrote for an accountancy client of ours. 3 funding ideas for the modern startup. So this is on Home Business magazine, and this is read by the sort of businesses which would be a great target audience for this accountant, right? This accountant for small businesses, so Home Business, great publication to be featured in. So 3 funding ideas for the modern startup, and there is the author bio at the end, so a bit about Russell and a link back to his website and all his social channels. So really good visibility in front of a target audience. Here's another one on the selfemployed.com. So this is a publication all for people who are, surprisingly, self-employed. Well, this is exactly his target audience. So here's one that says how to manage your accounts when you aren't an accountant. So even in the title, actually, it sounds a little bit, like you don't even need an accountant. Well, of course, the moral of the story is, here's what you need to do. If you need any help with any of this, then Russell is an experienced chartered accountant with over a decade of experience running his own business. Amazing, let's go. So good quality link and high authority, and that's the ranking improvement that this site saw as a result of this digital PR work. So significant improvement there. And they are now top of Google for all of their leads phrases, which is fab. Okay, so how do we do this? What's the process of getting these things, getting these pieces featured and getting these articles live? Well, the first stage is planning. So we need to be really clear about exactly who the target audience is first. So what is your perfect customer avatar? What do they look like? And then if they're a business, obviously you have one type of avatar. If they're an individual, then they have another type of avatar. What do they care about? Right, what are the things that these guys are scared of? What are the things that they're really passionate about? What are the things that they're reading on a daily basis? What's the stuff that they don't care about, right? And then once you know what they care about, where are they spending time online and which publications are they reading? So you can just go onto Google and you can type in your business. So for example, we're a marketing agency, so we could type in marketing trade journals, or we could type in small business trade journals or medium-sized business trade journals, or digital marketing trade journals or whatever. Or you could type in, let's say that you're an accountant, you could type in business publications, business magazines, business trade journals. And what you want to do is you want to do some research of the market. Have a look at the sort of magazines and news sites that are out there, the sort of blogs that are getting attention. Then you want to look through and see what sort of content these guys are publishing. Okay, so are they publishing tips and how-to? Are they publishing industry news? Are they publishing trends and futures, right? What sort of stuff is interesting to these publications? What are the article topics? Because if we know what they publish already, then we're not going to go to them with something that's completely, alien to them and unlikely to get featured. What we basically want to do is we want to find the common themes which we know are popular in this industry and just take one of them to the next level. Give one of them a new angle, update one of them, future predictions for this thing, whatever it might be. But we want to make sure that we're targeting something that we know they're going to publish. Once we've done that, once we've collected our list, then it's time to start pitching. So the first question to ask is, who is the right contact at this publication? Sometimes this will be the editor of the publication. Sometimes if it's a larger publication, you might look for journalists or writers who have written about similar topics. So if you notice, for example, that all of the national newspapers have lots and lots of different writers writing about particular topics, and you'll get some writers that consistently write about the same topics. Well, in that case, you don't really necessarily want to go to the editor and say, hey, we've got an idea for this. What you want to do is you want to find that journalist, that writer, and say, hey, I've got an idea around this. Is this the sort of thing that you might be interested in? I can send over some copy and you can have a look. Think about what are their goals, right? Do they want to promote your business? Do they want to help you grow? No. All they care about is, can I give my editor some content which is going to be popular, right? I want to keep my job. I want to show that I'm a valuable contributor to this publication. So can I give something which is going to be high value and really, really interesting, right? It's going to be relevant and it's going to be high value. So what we're not going to do is we're not just going to pitch something which is a thinly disguised advertorial. So let's talk about 5 reasons why we're the best accountant in Leeds, right? That's not going to get anywhere, and you're just going to damage relationships and annoy people if you go with that sort of stuff. So we've got to make sure that we're conscious of the goals of the person that we're pitching, and then we want to play up to that. So I can get you the article very quickly, it'll be really good quality, it'll be proofread, I'll include the images, whatever. And some of these guys will say, cool, yeah, send it over. And then, depending on the publication, some of them will just publish it as you send it. Some of them will want to take credit for it, which is absolutely fine. As long as you get a link back to your website, they know the deal, they know the drill. For larger publications like national newspapers, you're not going to get an article placed without spending a lot of money. So what you want to do instead is you want to look for topics that people are talking about and offer an opinion on it, because the journalists will be writing their own content. Once you've pitched these guys, you may want to make sure that you follow up. Right, you never really get a response on the first attempt. If you've got a blog, then you've had pitches for guest posts, and most of them get ignored. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you follow up. You also want to be happy with a relatively high attrition rate. Right, if you send out 3 pitches, you're probably not going to get any response ever. If you send out 50, right, you're going to start getting some responses. So you want to go big, and you want to be prepared for some rejection and some failure. Here's an example of an outreach email that you might send. So in this case, we're working for a medical recruitment company, and we want to get a piece published in a medical recruitment journal. The email says, "Hi Scott, I noticed that you ran a recent feature on the recent NHS staff cuts, and I wanted to ask you if you'd be interested in the opinions of Ron Stewart, who runs the UK's largest medical recruitment company and has some very strong views on the topic. He's put together an article titled 'How the NHS Risks Squeezing Out Cares from the Hospital', which I'll be happy to send over. He's been published in numerous magazines and newspapers already in this area, and should you be interested, you would of course have exclusivity." Okay, so what are we saying there? Well, we're saying we're first building up the credibility of Ron, right? The UK's largest medical recruitment company. And we're also boosting the credibility by saying we've been published in numerous magazines and newspapers already in this area. So what we're not doing is we're not going in completely fresh and letting them know that we're just completely green and, hey, can you post our thing? We want to get some stuff promoting us. No, we want to say this is a safe bet, right? They've had visibility before. This is a safe bet. This is someone important, right? This is someone that you really want to hear from. If you haven't been published in numerous magazines and newspapers already, hey, part of me says, well, they're probably not going to check. The next thing that's important here is has some very strong views on the topic. So this is not just a bland, commentary piece. This is an opinion piece. There could be some controversy here. And that's the sort of stuff which gets attention, right? The next thing, he's put together an article. So the work is already done. We just want to send it over to you. We mentioned at the end there that they would have exclusivity. This is important. Nobody wants to publish an article second, right? You have one article per publication, and you give them exclusivity. You never ever send an article to a second publication for them to publish it, because if they find out that it's already been published, both of those publications are giving you the finger, right? And then we've even put together a headline there, how the NHS risks squeezing out care from the hospital. The other thing I should say is that the publication we're pitching here has published content along these lines already. Okay, they know that their target audience is passionate and agrees with the sentiment in that article, which is important. What we don't want to do is go into a publication and pitch an article which we know is going to really annoy all of their readers, because they're obviously not going to publish that. We want to publish something where their readers agree with them, because people like to read stuff which they agree with. Okay, so we send that over and we either get a yes or a no. Well, to be more truthful, we either get a yes or we hear nothing back. We keep pounding away until we get a yes. Once we get a yes, they say, yeah, cool, send it over. Then we start writing. We don't write before we get a yes, because otherwise you'll spend a lot of time writing articles which never get placed. So some important guidelines here. Match the style of the publication, right? If they talk in very opinion way, then you want to talk with lots of opinion. If they talk in a fact-based way, referring to other external sources, that's what you want to do. Match the style. If it's conversational, great. If it's formal, great. Just got to match it. That journalist or editor will likely give you a target word count. If they give you a word count, stick to it. Right? It doesn't have to be, 2,500 words on the dot or whatever, but stick. If they ask for 2,500 and you send them 4,000, you're an idiot. Stick to what they've asked you for, right? They ask you for the word count for a reason. Remember, don't make it too advertorial. It's okay and in fact desirable to include mentions of your competitors here. What we don't want to do is make this clearly a blatant pitch for your services, because then it's not going to run. And it cheapens the look of the publication if they do run it, so they're never going to run it. So we're not doing this for the promotion benefit, remember. Think of it as doing it for the link and doing it for the credibility of being able to say that you've been featured in these places. Include mentions of your competitors, that's completely fine, particularly if they're higher authority than you, because being seen with those other websites, having outbound links from an article which links to other higher authority websites is good for you. Spelling and grammar check, absolutely crucial. Remember, the goal of the journalist or the editor here is to get the article with minimum effort. If we send them some piece of rubbish that has spelling mistakes all over it, they have to go through that. They have to proof it. That adds time and that adds a risk that they're not going to publish it. So send it through Grammarly, have an editor, have someone read through it, have someone spell check it to make sure it reads well, read it out loud as well to check that it sounds natural, and only then send it over. Make sure that you include a bio. So if your business is featured, if your website is mentioned through the article, then you'll have a link where that mention is. If you are not mentioned through the article, then you'll be mentioned in the bio section at the bottom if the piece is being written in your voice. So make sure that you include a bio, send over a picture as well, because they like to have a picture, and make sure that it's, not too pitchy, it makes sense, builds your authority and puts you forward as a credible author on this topic. And always include high quality and licensed images, and let the publication know that this is licensed, these images are licensed, that they can use. We'll often find that a publication will not use the images that we send over. That's absolutely fine, but if the thing that stands in the way of them publishing it now is somebody digging around and finding some stock photos that they can use, that adds time to the equation. We don't want to do that. We want to make it as easy as possible, so send over high quality licensed images. Okay, once they've published the article, what happens now? You've got to build momentum. So every time you get a publication, view that as a potential regular contribution. Okay, this is not a one shot. If we can get some visibility in this publication on a regular basis, that's good news for you. The more links you get, the more credibility that you have. Right, if you get 5 links from a publication, that's much better for your SEO, much better for your credibility than 1 link. Now, as you get more and more, it starts to dwindle a little bit, and you get to a point of diminishing returns. But if you can get more links from a publication, that's generally a really good thing. So once the piece is live, follow up with the editor or journalist and thank them. Nobody ever does this, right? They use these guys and they dump them, and then they never hear from them until they want something else again, right? So if you do this, you will stand out. Say thank you. Really enjoyed reading the piece. Really appreciate it. I'm stoked to be featured. I've sent it out to all of my, friends and family and colleagues, and they all love the piece. They love the work that you've done. Thank you. If you do this, you will secure regular articles. Okay, so what we're looking to do here, if let's say that we've had an article go live. Say, cool, I sent this out to my Discord. Thank you so much for publishing the article last week. I sent it out to my readers and it's had a really good response. A lot of people have been asking some follow-up questions, which have been really interesting. So I actually put together a response piece asking the main follow-up questions that they had. Again, I'll be happy to send it over to you if you're interested. Now, they might say no, too soon, but hey, at least you're on the radar and at least you're showing that you're trying to build some sort of relationship there. Okay, let's look at inbound PR requests now. So this is often how you'll get in the highest authority publications like the national newspapers and international magazines. So a few different flavors of this. The first is journalist inquiry services. So there are services out there that journalists will submit requests to when they need an interviewee or they need someone to feature in their publication. Okay, so let's say you're writing a piece on National Heart Month. You need some contributions from health experts. What do? Well, you might go to someone like Response Source or Gorkana, and you might put out a request saying, "Hey, I need experts on heart health to talk about a piece for the Mirror that I'm writing." Right, so they will submit their request to these, and then this will go out to you if you're signed up for these services. If you see a journalist inquiry service that's a match for your business, you've got to immediately let the person know, right? So you say, "Hey, Sarah, I just noticed the request that you sent out. I've got a background in personal training, and I'm a real expert on heart health. I've got some info on this. Have you filled the slot? Are you still looking for someone?" If you send something good, they might feature you, and then you get a link. Amazing. So the same rules apply. Say thank you, be polite, meet deadlines, give them what they want, help them to do their job more effectively. Give them the soundbite that they're after. If you give them a better soundbite than anybody else, guess what? You're getting featured and nobody else is. So there's a few different journalist inquiry services that we use. Things like Response Source, relatively cheap to get started. I think we pay about £1,000 a year. Gorkana, much more expensive, tends to be a higher end thing. They also have things like forward features where they'll have a list of articles and topics that publications are going to be talking about in future, so you can reach out to the editors or the writers who are going to be writing those pieces, but much more expensive, as I say. Normally it starts around £5,000 per year. Here's an example of what a journalist inquiry would look like from something like Response Source. So we got a few different things here. Right up at the top it says media outlet Prima. With the media outlet website prima.co.uk. So this is the publication that the writer is looking to fill some content for. Freelance journalist Fiona Ford, so that tells us her name, and we know that she's freelance, so she probably writes for other publications as well, which is great. Journalist directory profile, this is a link to a profile that they have, which tells you about how long they've been writing, the sort of topics they write about, any other publications that they write for. There's a deadline for leads there, which is when you absolutely need to reply. Now, for Response Source, if you reply after that, it won't even, they won't even get it. So it's pointless even trying. So you need to make sure that you respond as quickly as possible. Then there's a short summary of the inquiry, tips for relaxation, and then a query. Hi all, writing a piece on how to relax over the summer and looking for tips and suggestions women from 30 and above can relate to. I'm after anything and everything, so whether it's scheduling time to meditate, getting a great night's sleep, lowering blood pressure, I'm open to all ideas but would love to hear from you. As ever, we can plug websites, contacts, campaigns, etc. So please get in touch if you're interested. All the best, Fiona. Now this is for Prima magazine. This is a popular authoritative website. And you can see there's a media outlet description. There's also Fiona's Twitter link as well, so you can follow her on Twitter, and you can see, sometimes they post out journalist inquiries that they have on Twitter. Cool. All right, so what do? Well, we go back to Fiona and say, "Hi, Fiona. I represent Peter Lemon, an experienced personal trainer. He has the following relaxation tips. There's a widespread misconception that suggests in order to relax, you have to rest. Actually, physical exercise brings about amazing feelings of relaxation, blah, blah, blah." So what we've done there is, rather than saying, "Hey, Fiona, I've got some info on this," we've just given Fiona the soundbite straight away. Now, if she's just had 30 responses from different people saying, "Hey, Fiona, do you need someone for this? I can put you in contact with my client." Well, we've just done the work for her, right? If she's got 5 of these awesome tips, well, she can just use those. She can run with them and she can get back to you if she's interested. So in this case, and for most of our clients, when we get something like this, we won't even go back to the client. We'll just pitch them on. We'll just pitch the journalist on an angle immediately, because time is of the essence here. We need to get back to them quickly to be at the top of the pile. And then we say underneath, if you found the information useful, you can give credit to Peter Lemon, expert personal trainer and founder of the Academy of Fitness Professionals, with a link back to the website, right? Really, really important there. So that's the sort of approach that we would take. And that's the sort of thing which led to this. Here's another example. Being overweight increases your risk of developing heart disease. So this is from the Mirror article, and you can see there's a link back to the website. And there's the feature on Victoria Derbyshire's show. Here's what happened to their ranking as a result of that visibility and the links that went live. And here's some more ranking stuff as well. So you can see some nice ranking movements and improvements there. Cool, let's talk about Twitter, because Twitter has actually become a really, really good source of inbound journalist requests. And unlike Response Source and Gorkana, Twitter is completely free. So there's a couple of hashtags that you need to be aware of. Hashtag journo request and hashtag PR request. For example, Elizabeth Anderson, looking to speak to small business owners who will be affected by next week's dividend tax changes. Any suggestions? Hashtag SMEs, hashtag journo request. Okay, interesting. So this is relevant to any small or medium-sized business. Anyone has an opinion on this. You don't need to be like a tax advisor or an accountant or anything like that. She's just looking to talk to business owners. So it's relevant to everyone, right? It's relevant to you. The great thing is, check out her profile. Elizabeth Anderson, business reporter to The Telegraph, particularly interested in enterprise and innovation. This is a Telegraph reporter asking for sources for her journalist, right? Amazing. Because if we can get in here, we can get a really high authority link from The Telegraph. Amazing for SEO. Here's another example. Looking for SME owners to share tips on experiences of tweaking sleeping and eating habits to improve work well-being. Hashtag journo request. Right? Bam. What's Rich all about? Writer of all things edible, sustainable and small business at The Guardian. So he works for The Guardian and others, which means he's freelance and he writes for other publications. So give him a useful and timely response. Follow up with him. Let him know if you're here, if he ever needs anything else. If he ever needs another piece from an SME or whatever, you are the expert. So just tweet him back. Hey Rich, SME owner hits the gym 6 days a week here. Happy to talk on email. tim@exposureninja.com. Amazing. That's how you reply to it. Here's another example. Alison Coleman. What do entrepreneurs wear for work and how does it impact on creativity, productivity and winning new business? Top media op. Hashtag journo request. I replied saying, dressed up despite working from home. Happy to send over a quote. Email tim@exposureninja.com. Alison replied, just inboxed you. Okay, all of that happened very, very quickly. She wrote me an email. I wrote her back an email with my tips. Guess what? Alison writes for Forbes. She's also a ghostwriter of executives and entrepreneurs. Amazing. This is now live on Forbes. How you dress for work can make you more productive via Forbes. Tagging Exposure Ninja. Amazing. So we get links on social and we get featured in an article here. Me alongside Mark Zuckerberg, right? Mark Zuckerberg swears by wearing the same casual clothes for work every day because it allows him to focus on more important decisions. And then further down, what does your choice of working day, but does your choice of working day outfit make you more productive? Although entrepreneur Tim Kitchen mainly runs his 45-person digital marketing firm Exposure Ninja from his home office, he still dresses sharply in shirt and trousers. Actually, I don't. I mostly just wear joggers. But hey, I needed an angle for the publication. I needed some story which was going to be interesting. And actually got more coverage in that article than Mark Zuckerberg. Amazing. I've actually got another particularly good story about this. So we noticed an inbound journalist request from from someone who worked for Radio 4, and they were doing a piece on how businesses could collect. There was a big story about how small businesses were being choked out by corporations because these corporations weren't paying their invoices on time. And for small businesses, that was tough because, they're having to front up money and pay for stuff and they weren't getting paid on time. So the journalist was looking for people to ask about this, people who had solutions to this. So I just tweeted back and said, hey, we had a surcharge or whatever. To late payments, and we find that it tends to speed up people's responses here. And they say cool, and then they interviewed me live on Radio 4 about this topic, it was fantastic. The best thing about this feature was not only did my mum and a bunch of other people just happen to hear me on Radio 4, even though they didn't know I was going to be on there. So I immediately got a text from my mum, very emotional, happy that her son had now officially made it. But the even better thing was that actually one of our overdue clients was listening to the piece, and they immediately emailed back our accounting department saying, oh my God, I'm so sorry. We've got this overdue invoice. I've just heard Tim talking on Radio 4. I'm so embarrassed. And they immediately paid the invoice. Amazing. So profitable. So that is how to get featured in national newspapers and magazines. I hope you have found this useful.